Hey Haunters, it's Liam. I'm finally back. Ended up doing a walkthrough this year finally after doing just yard displays for the last 2 years. I think I actually have some video of those too that I should probably post at some point. We'll do that. But I wanted to walk you through before I start taking my taking down the haunt today. So I'm going to flip the camera around and I will show you the haunt. Alright, so we started out here, just did a very basic graveyard this year. Nothing really special, just a ton of fog and a blue light and some candles on the gravestones. But over here is where the entrance to the haunt was. So coming in, you kind of go through a big thing of camo netting. The theme of this year was a haunted forest, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that in just a minute. You can see right here, this was the shack that I was just in. We'll see the inside in just a sec. This is something that I built new this year. It's similar to some of the other facades I've done. Just wanted to build something new though. The other stuff was getting kind of old after sitting in the weather for a few years. One of the differences about this one is that I built it with corrugated plastic, which you can kind of see the texture, like, there we go, yeah, like along here if you kind of look closely. But it's just a faux paint job. I think it came out pretty well. You know, in the dark it actually looks pretty cool. As you can see, I put these giant centipedes on the side and then inside also, and I had this animal skull thing above too that came from, I think, Spirit maybe. So I think it came out pretty well. I'm pretty happy with it, and I'm pretty happy overall with the corrugated plastic building process. You can kind of see the inside here. I wanted to go for kind of like a natural but sci-fi feel, and so I actually left the inside of this shack as just white walls with black painted 1x3s that I used for the back of the flats, and I think it actually came out pretty well. I had a green light that was kind of pulsing. That's that light at the top there. I had LEDs that I had put inside here. You can actually see them. It's just an LED string or an LED rope thing that was connected to a sound controller, so the music that was playing would just kind of make the LEDs flash and looked kind of cool. The whole idea was that with the forest was there was this guy who was investigating something strange that was going on in the forest. He was going to do a narration, like an intro narration, but I did not get that far. This year was a little crazy, so you know, he's here. He was doing his investigation. Obviously it didn't go very well, but he's got all this random electronic equipment that came from Goodwill and other places, and I think it ended up looking okay. Definitely want to do something more along the lines of you know, full narration and that type of thing next year, but we'll see what happens. So part of this too, here are some more of those centipedes. The really cool thing here, these guys came from the 99-cent store. They're actually hollow inside, but I think they actually look pretty cool. They kind of freak some people out. So this is the inside of the shack again, and then the way that we get out is through here. This is actually part of what I wanted the narration to be too, is I wanted this door to actually be totally closed, and then to open after the narration was done, after the intro was done, but didn't get that far either. But I think it's still cool. It worked out okay. I was actually going to put this tubing around so that it would kind of hide the seam, but it didn't get that far, and it didn't really matter because, you know, that's that. So coming out of the shack, you actually would come into this cave type area that's just super basic. I actually built it like the day before Halloween. It's just out of like, you know, basic brown paper. I had an insect projection against this wall that people thought was kind of cool. And you just kind of come through here and, you know, it's nothing great, but it's fine. And it separates, you know, it makes it so you don't come out of the shack and then look right at the house, which I think kind of took away from the overall experience. And then over here I have the entrance. Once you go through the cave, you have the entrance to the haunted forest. This is a pretty cool archway thing that I bought last year from a friend of mine. And the haunted forest is actually inside a canopy that I bought at Costco. It's 10 by 20 and it fits in the driveway very nicely. And the nice thing I like about it is that not only gave me sort of a covered area to protect the electronics, but also contained the fog for the haunted forest pretty nicely. So entering the haunted forest, I actually had a werewolf projection over here on that scrim that you see right there, and then just camo netting with a bunch of different plastic foliage added into it. And then in the haunted forest itself, I had 3 real pine trees. And I mentioned I was going to talk a little bit more about this in a second, and this is where I will actually talk about that. These pine trees were actually placed in our front planter. We were actually on an HGTV show, interestingly enough. They renovated our front yard and our kitchen area, and they had put these pine trees into the planter in front. And my wife and I were kind of like, I don't know if having big, huge pine trees like these is going to be a good idea right next to our garage and next to the foundation. So we took them out, and I was like, what am I going to do with these trees? And I realized that I was going to make a haunted forest for Halloween. So here we are with the haunted forest with real trees. It was pretty cool, the number of people who came out and went, you have real trees in your haunt? And I said, yep, I do. So that was cool. Probably hold on to them for next year, I guess, because I have no idea where else I'm going to put them. Anyway, besides that, got the hanging down camo netting that people would go through. The other thing I had in here, besides these guys, kind of hang out, just a skeleton with a cloak over it on a stand. There's another one of the trees too. I had a green laser, so I think the effect of 2018 is the green laser line effect. Had that going on, so there was a sort of a fog blanket toward the bottom of the haunted forest, which is actually really cool. People really liked the effect. Apparently they have not watched as many Halloween videos as I have, with everyone else using that effect, but it's a cool effect, it's useful, it looks pretty neat, and it's pretty high impact for low price, so was happy with that. Here's the last tree, here's another skeleton guy. And then at the end of this, I had this werewolf guy who is a bit broken. Word to the wise, do not build the largest prop you've ever built on Halloween, because it will probably break. It actually lasted most of the night though. But I bought this mask and hands like 2 years ago, maybe even 3 years ago, on clearance for like some ridiculously low price, and I hadn't used it, so I just put this guy up on a thing. There's actually an air cylinder on the back of that would kind of rock him back and forth. So not a ton of movement, but enough to kind of make it interesting. And there was a strobe light that would go off as people walked by too. So that's the haunt for the year. I was pretty happy with it given the amount of time that I had. Yeah, I can't complain too much. People enjoyed it, people had fun, people were glad that there was another walkthrough. So, like I said, I haven't done one in a couple of years. So yeah, enjoyed that process. Hope you guys all had a great Halloween too. Keep on haunting, and I'll be back with more videos soon. Thanks, bye.